I'm Tom Yurek, and today I'll be presenting Long Live the Honey Badger, Robust Asynchronous DPSS and its applications. So first, to start off, for this talk to make any sense, and I understand that sort of already introduced this, but in case anyone missed it, secret sharing is a general sort of protocol where parties hold shares of some secret such that some threshold of them can get together to recover it, but anything short of the threshold learns nothing about the underlying secret value. And if we throw on some additional adjectives, namely dynamic and proactive, then that means that we can have a secret that is held by one committee, and the secret can be essentially transferred in a secret shared form to a different committee while keeping the underlying secret the same, but not revealing it. If you have a dynamic proactive secret sharing protocol, then you can allow secrets to persist in the long term, even for long-running protocols with network churn, with players coming and going, and so forth. And to give some quick motivating applications, one might consider persisting secret shared key material in dynamic applications, such as handling perhaps membership changes for encrypted group messaging, or storing long-term secrets in blockchain applications. But this talk today is perhaps more focused around multiparty computation, and specifically long-running multiparty computations, which may see the set of servers perform the computations change over time. Some situations where this might arise could be for very lengthy computations, or computations where new inputs are added over time, or perhaps where a bunch of pre-computation has been done and we don't want to throw it all away just because the set of parties performing the computation has changed. Now, DPSS is not exactly a new protocol. Many different protocols exist, and every paper in DPSS has to have an increasingly long table of all the related DPSS protocols, so one might ask, well, what's left to do? We'll first point out that many prior DPSS works are not asynchronous. And this is relevant because if these non-asynchronous protocols either maybe aren't very optimized, or if they are, then they start performing suboptimally again, and namely are performing asymptotically worse even if there's a single crash. Whereas here, because we're talking about synchrony, a crash could just be a message arrived a second too late. Now, among the existing asynchronous options, they're either not dynamic, meaning that maybe they refresh the shares, but they don't anticipate the parties holding them to change, or perhaps they're not optimally fault tolerant, or just rather inefficient. In this work, we'll be addressing these issues and also focusing on a batch amortization case, which can give us a sort of best of all worlds where we have good performance even in harsh adversarial conditions. So what properties are we particularly targeting here? Well, first of all, we want our protocols to be asynchronous, meaning that they work without making any network timing assumptions. The protocols will progress exactly as fast as the network and computation of the devices allows. We want our protocols to be robust, and here we mean that they should handle an optimal number of Byzantine or malicious faults without any sort of performance degradation. When possible, we want them to be high threshold, meaning that privacy thresholds can be larger than T, our general threshold, and can be up to n-T. And we want to focus on the batch amortized case, in which many secrets can be transferred at once at a low per secret cost. And if you're wondering what all the honey badgers have to do with this, we sort of are using a honey badger as a mascot because it's a creature that is well known for its high degree of fault tolerance in harsh adversarial settings. And yes, I reused that joke from NDSS, sue me. All right, so I wanted to take a minute to try to quickly motivate high threshold MPC and why we should try to care more about high threshold applications. In asynchronous MPC in general, there's a hard limit about how many malicious faults you can actually tolerate, being n/3 if you want to be able to guarantee correct output for arbitrary computations. However, privacy failures are a big sort of issue with multiparty computation, namely in that they are silent. And if we're using a simple threshold of n over 3, then that means that a third of a network can get together at any point and remove all privacy from the system, and nobody has to know about it. But we remark, however, that protocol deviations themselves can be detected, unlike privacy failures. And so perhaps an asynchronous MPC with Byzantine fault bounds that are within allowable theoretical levels, but with a higher bar for privacy, gives us a sort of best for both worlds. Anyway, moving on, how do we actually construct a DPSS protocol? We have a few different constructions in the paper, and I'll just give high-level overviews of some of them now. To give a highest level idea for our first protocol, let's just let C represents an old committee that holds shares of some secret, and C prime is the new committee. Now each member of this old committee's secret shares their share to all the members of C prime, and C prime simply needs to agree on which resharings to use and derive new shares as a linear combination of resharings. And this actually totally works. I'm not going to explain the math for it, but if you think about it for a little bit, you can probably figure it out. Now to give a slightly more detailed explanation, we want every member of this old committee to use ACSS, or asynchronous complete secret sharing, to reshare their own share to C prime. And what ACSS gives you is, well, A, functioning in asynchrony, but B, this idea of completeness, in which if an honest party believes that they have received a correct share and that the protocol will terminate, it is guaranteed to terminate even if it has not done so yet. And this is a really nice property that composes well with another primitive called Byzantine agreement. And you can use these to, in conjunction, to agree on a set of ACSS instances that we know are going to terminate. And a fun upshot of constructing protocols like this is that, well, we're essentially just building all of this off of an ACSS. And if we use a high threshold ACSS, then we automatically get a high threshold DPSS. But there are some limitations with this first approach. Namely that we require all parties to each perform an independent instance of ACSS, and there are no known constructions for ACSS that have less than an O of n squared network overhead. So this all implies that that our DPSS is going to require cubic overhead just to transfer one secret from one committee to another. Now that's still a nice, good result. Achieving cubic overhead and asynchrony with optimal fault tolerance, but can we do better? So for this next construction, we'll be drawing some inspiration from a classic MPC technique. Essentially, if we want to re-randomize the shares for some secret S, we need to have sharings of two different sharings of a value R, which we'll call R and R prime. Here, the important thing to take away is that the R and R prime are equal to each other, but the shares that represent them are not equal. But if we open, say, which is to say reconstruct S plus R, this doesn't reveal anything about S because R is random, but we can use this to derive re-randomized shares of S, which we'll call S prime. Now, in a batch setting, R and R prime can be computed very efficiently using hyperinvertible matrices, which, like Saurav, I won't get into for this talk. But there's a sort of a challenge here in that this old committee must hold shares of R, and the new committee must hold shares of R prime. And to address that, we introduce this idea of a dual committee ACSS. The core idea is that a dealer simply needs to run two instances of ACSS with different receiving pools, namely the old and new committees. And this ACSS also needs to include some sort of commitment to the secret that is being shared, or in this case, the random value being shared, as I'll talk about in a second. And C prime need to just check that they receive the same commitment or a commitment to the same underlying secret, and also that to both ACSS instances do terminate. Okay, so now given all these building blocks, we can kind of modify the earlier idea, and now we start off with all parties using a dual committee ACSS to share locally sampled random values. We use a sort of Byzantine agreement to agree on a set of players whose instances we know will terminate successfully. And we can extract globally random sharings by locally applying a hyperverbal matrix. And then we just perform this, we'll reconstruct S plus R operation a bunch of times in parallel using batch amortized techniques. And so we've written our DPSS to be somewhat agnostic to which ACSS schemes are used, but we analyze two options in the paper. The first is a modified version due to Das et al. That supports privacy thresholds up to n minus t and is conceptually very simple. Doesn't batch amortize as well, but still gets some benefits, but is unfortunately computationally very slow due to reliance on PyA encryption. And the second backend that we analyze is HB-ACSS instantiated with KZG polynomial commitments, which is relatively quick computationally and batch amortized as well, but unfortunately does not support high thresholds and requires a trusted setup. There's always trade-offs. So to evaluate this work, we introduced an application which we call BMR escape hatch, where BMR is simply a multiparty protocol for creating a garbled circuit. The kind of punchline here is that if we have a circuit representing an arbitrary computation, then the only online interaction that's required is to map MPC secrets into circuit input labels, evaluate the circuit entirely locally, and then map outputs back to MPC secrets. And this offers us a method to do substantial pre-computation, as online interaction does not depend on circuit size of our program. And this offers a low latency option for quick program evaluation when the network is, say, congested. So we evaluate both our different DPSS protocols as well as our BMR escape hatch application. Our benchmarks are fairly simple. They were just running a Python program on a single core Python program on a laptop, and we just measured the time it takes to reshare 1,000 secrets from one committee to another. And we also created an implementation for our BMR escape hatch using MP speeds and evaluated with a program that is a MPC automated market-making application called Honey Badger Swap. And yeah, the trade-offs are roughly as you would expect. It's that if you spend a lot of pre-compute, then you can get quick online computation in response to actual inputs, but the net time spent doing so is a lot larger, so trade-offs. Okay, well, this is the end of the talk. Just to give like a quick summary, we provided the first cubic asynchronous DPSS, which also does not degrade performance in the presence of faults and is optimally fault tolerant. We additionally provide batch amortized schemes to achieve n squared and O of n network bandwidth for high and regular thresholds respectively. And we evaluate our programs with a novel BMR escape hatch, and also we have code. Oh, yeah, okay. I don't know why this slide was like out of sync with the computer, sorry. Hope it wasn't like that earlier. But anyway, okay, yeah, that's the end.